Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? So, last week we talked about the Steel Dawn quests and the length of them, or lack thereof. But today I want to move on a little bit from that and look at what might be coming next with Steel Rain, the next part of the Brotherhood update, and possibly, maybe even some other updates relating to this a little further on down the line. Hi folks, before we jump into the video, I just wanted to take a moment to tell you about Fallout for Hope. So as I'm sure you're well aware, 2020 has been rather a dark year, and with a view to ending it with a bit more of a ray of light, folks behind Chad, a Fallout 76 podcast, have got together with over 200 other Fallout creators and streamers to raise money for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. So if you don't know what those guys do, basically they research cures and treatments for children with life-threatening diseases like cancer, so it's a really great cause. So, from the 14th to the 20th of December across YouTube, Twitch and other platforms as well, all 200 plus of us will be playing games from the Fallout series to raise a bit of money for St. Jude's. If you'd like to support the campaign and support St. Jude's, you'll find a link down in the description. You'll also be able to pick them up on the streams during the week as well. And you'll also be able to find it, of course, on everybody else's channels as well. So, we do hope you join us in supporting this wonderful cause. Thank you very much. So, obviously there's going to be considerable speculation here, and as well as a few story spoilers for Steel Dawn, so if you haven't completed that particular set of quests yet, I would recommend coming back to this later. But, for those who have, so there are a couple of things that I've seen in videos, and a couple of things sort of referenced in some comments on last week's video as well, that have put some interesting thoughts in my head regarding what's coming up, or what might be coming up anyway, regarding the future of the Brotherhood story, the next couple of parts of the DLC, which I suspect are going to be 2, not 1, although we don't really know yet. Obviously, we know there's one more part coming for sure, that's Steel Rain, but there's enough story that's already kind of established in the existing content that already came out for Steel Dawn, that there might well be a second arc or set or chunk of DLC, however you want to look at it, coming up afterwards. It's difficult to say, but it's just a guess, but there's certainly the potential there for it. So if you head over to either Scribe Valdez, Paladin Romani, or Knight Shin following your completion of the existing content, the conversations you can have with them obviously are slanted towards their own perspectives, but they will establish the sort of current situation. So obviously you've got the situation between Romani and Shin, and possibly even Valdez if the trailers are to be believed, but we'll have to wait and see on that because it doesn't seem to be there in the existing story so far. But there's that, and there's also the big super mutant attack. So these are two very, very distinct, significant events that potentially could be explored in quite a bit of detail. Given the length, issues aside, of current updates and the updates we have already, it would be relatively sensible, especially given the amount of time Steel Dawn is supposed to be covering, to have 2 separate sections of DLC there. So it seems like a possibility there might be more than one. The other thing is, when it was initially announced, the Brotherhood of Steel stuff was supposed to cover the better part of a year, but that was from September through till probably next summer. So obviously, delays notwithstanding, we can kind of shrink that down a little bit, and obviously the length of things, but it seems likely that if it's going to cover a longer period, i.e. basically last beyond, say, February at the latest, then there may well be an additional bit of DLC later to explain that difference in time scale, which would make a bit of sense, and fingers crossed that's the way it turns out. It would certainly be a good thing, but we'll see how it goes. So what I'm thinking here is, with the Steel Dawn stuff, as it ends, you've got the super mutant threat and the, well, literally fractured steel bit. So the super mutant threat, you've got a massive attack on Fort Atlas that seems to come out of nowhere. It's quite a sophisticated, planned out attack. You know, super mutants, you'd expect their style to be more run at the front door until you either overwhelm it or they're all dead. But they didn't. They went with a much more clever, cunning approach of tunneling in underneath and breaking in that way, which is not on the level I would normally associate with the super mutants in Appalachia, but there could be other examples in the past that I'm not aware of that would indicate that level of sophistication. But it's interesting nonetheless. Obviously you've got a big threat. They've repulsed the first attack on Fort Atlas, but why the attack came, where it came from, what the organisation behind it was, what the motivation behind it was, are all big unanswered questions at this point. So there's definitely a potential for a reasonable chunk of story there. So particularly things like the motivation I'm very curious about, because as far as we know, the Brotherhood marched into Appalachia from somewhere off towards the west, came across the Ohio River and up towards Atlas. But how they would have managed with such a small group and such a small amount of time to antagonize all of Appalachia's super mutants enough to attack them, I don't really know. They might remember and recognize them from the previous chapter, who were led by Paladin Taggedy, because they were involved in attacking them, particularly at Huntersville. There was a big battle there pre the setting of the game, so that may have something to do with it, but it's certainly something that Bethesda can explore. So there's potential there for a decent quest line anyway, so that may well end up forming one update. We've also seen stuff like footage of an attack on Robco, which may or may not be part of an upcoming storyline. It may also be something to do with secondary DLC, possibly, or daily ops, something like that. That sort of additional side stuff. But obviously we've got the Fractured Steel stuff as well, the dispute between Romani and Xion in particular, and possibly even Valdez, depending on how that goes and how much the trailer is to be believed. But there's obviously quite a sizable potential for story out of that as well, the conflict between them. Does it stay a small internal conflict, or potentially become something bigger? Maybe Xion leaves, sets up a rival group, takes some of the initiates with him, because some of them are keen on meeting the elders. You hear that in their commentary as you're wandering around Atlas. So it's possible that they might separate into two factions based in separate locations, wouldn't surprise me, and end up being something of a Brotherhood civil war. If Bethesda go down that route, then there's a really big possibility of a whole second set of story content there that might then extend the DLC closer towards the size it was implied it was going to be when it was first announced. So that's my hunch and theory on that. It would be interesting to see where that goes. Obviously, besides that stuff, we've also got updates to Daily Ops coming. We know there's going to be new creatures. We know there's going to be a new mission type coming, which is very, very cool. It's possible there'll be new locations as well. I'm not so sure on that particular point, but be interesting to find out. So there's obviously continued opportunity for them to expand on that particular mechanic. We know there are new vaults coming as well, so in that regard we know there are new locations. So a lot of potential for the future there, and it'll be interesting to explore. So that's due to come in the next few months. So there's another bit of something to get stuck into that's worth thinking about and bearing in mind. The other thing that Bethesda have mentioned in the past, but we haven't heard anything about recently, is that there are expeditions coming, and we don't really know a great deal about them, but it seems likely from snippets from interviews and things like that, that they will be singular missions that take us outside of Appalachia, or the existing map, to set locations, possibly some famous locations that have occurred before, judging by some things that they've said they wanted to do, places that would mean a lot to the fans, which is cool. So pre-visited locations, but obviously, the better part of 200 years before that. So that will be quite interesting, and that is due to come out in the early part of next year as well. Obviously, we haven't heard any more details, so other stuff may have caused that to be pushed back a little bit further, but it is still up and coming, so that'll be an interesting thing to explore with new content as well. So there's little things like that to think about with the continuing update as well, so I thought I'd touch on those as a reminder as well. From what we know, as I say, we're going to be going to specific locations outside the map, completing a series of objectives, relatively small activity, and then coming back, and they'll be repeatable. So that should be pretty interesting to explore as well. I'm looking forward to finding out more about that. So, I think that basically covers all of the hypothesis that I have for the moment about what might be coming. I'm certainly hoping that a couple of decent beats of story are going to be coming out of the setup that we have so far. It would be very, very nice to see that. And it'd make the whole Brotherhood of Steel arc feel a little bit more fleshed out, which would be welcome, I think, obviously, given the current set of circumstances. So, fingers crossed for some positivity there, and hopefully there'll be some other bits and pieces that Bethesda are going to surprise us with. It's happened before. It's unlikely, but it's happened before. So that would be cool as well. So we'll cross our fingers and try and be the voice of optimism a little for what may happen over the next few months. But for now, I will say thank you very much for watching. If you found this interesting, informative, and you enjoyed the video, please do consider dropping likes and subs. It's always very, very much appreciated. Social media links, merch store, and channel memberships are also available below the video as well if you're interested in supporting the channel that way. It's humongously appreciated and massively, massively helpful. So huge thanks to everybody who's done that already. And if you would like to, do catch up with one of the live streams as well. We've got the charity stuff coming up next week, which I'm really looking forward to, and we're starting Cyberpunk very, very soon as well, so can't wait for that. Do hope you'll join us for that. For now, I want to say thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.